in the iOS app universe. So there was a shift in the paradigm of the pedagogy. It's like, okay, you've been teaching with iPads and your kids have been using iPads, but we don't have enough, so here's a Chromebook. So that was a tough shift for teachers and kids because they're like, I've only grabbed and go. So to minimize that change again to, okay, 2 through 5, you had Chromebooks for a year, and there's been some positives coming out of that. And then 6 through 8, 12 have always had iPads. To try to minimize that change of device at each stage, we're staying with our current deployment. To address that keyboard issue, like I said, we're piloting some physical keyboards, and we're going to see what we can do as far as a pilot to try to get those keyboards in a pilot group, whether it's, and I don't want to paint myself in a corner, but whether it's middle school or high school or whatever, to try to get an actual pilot out in the buildings to test some of the functionality of these physical keyboards. So you've asked an awesome question. We're trying to minimize the amount of change that we're putting upon teachers and students with the type of devices we're deploying. Did I answer your question?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So it's more so to separate it, like all high schoolers have iPads, sorry. All high schoolers have iPads so that teachers can have like some sort of consistency and students can have some sort of consistency.
Exactly. Okay. There's been a lot of years, and when we first started with iPads, it was an 8th grade pilot. There's been a lot of time, energy, and effort devoted to teaching with those devices and to those devices, and with the apps, app-centric universe we've created, and all those great tools that some of those iOS apps make available. We're trying to minimize that change of different types of devices and keep it consistent.
Right, like Notability can't be used on a
Can't.
Chromebook.
Exactly right. We tried, and there's kind of some workarounds, but it's not possible. But perfect example. That's a really popular app.
It is. It's a great app. I love Notability.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you. Look forward to more info coming.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Next up is, am I at the approval of resolution regarding fund balance transfers. Oh, go ahead, sorry, I'm getting there. Go ahead.
So tonight, we're asking the board to approve $383.81, or $383,081 for a transfer. It stays in community ed budget, but it's moving from early childhood family education to school readiness. With the pandemic and things happening with COVID, the amount of classes that we were able to offer, along with the number of students that were able to attend in our school readiness programs, wasn't sufficient. And so we did see quite a large deficit in that area. However, on the opposite end, we saw a large increase in early ECFE fund balance. And so we are able, because of the executive order through this year, to complete a fund balance transfer. The board must approve that. And so tonight we're coming forward to approve that fund balance so that starting next school year, the staff and the administration of those programs can bring forward some changes to those programs, but also to start in a better foot and not try and climb out of the hole. That is an option to transfer out of ECFE into school readiness. It is allowable. The other option would be to transfer out of the general fund. And we certainly know that that isn't the best option at this time. And so that's why we're asking for this. If you have questions, we have staff here that are readily available to answer any questions. And I know that this has come to the FLRP committee, as well as it's been discussed in the community ed committee as well.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this? I guess we don't have to say an amount, it looks like.
Okay.
I don't know, it's not on here.
You don't need an amount.
It will finish at the end of the year with the actual dollar amount.
Oh.
But that's an estimated amount that we think that it will be.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to read the resolution, and then we'll have a motion in a second. Resolution regarding fund balance transfers. Whereas Minnesota Governor Tim Walz issued Emergency Executive Order 2019 on March 25th, 2020, which stated in part, paragraph 21, upon approval by the Executive Council, school districts and schools are authorized to transfer operating funds from certain programs that are not already assigned to or encumbered by staff salary and benefits or otherwise encumbered by federal law. Whereas a fund transfer is allowed if the transfer meets the criteria set forth in paragraph 21C of the Emergency Executive Order 20-19. 1, the transfer does not increase state aid obligations to the district or result in additional property tax authority for the district or charter school. 2, a transfer is limited to the operating funds of a district or charter school. 3, a school board must approve a fund transfer by the fiscal year reporting deadline. 4, a district or a charter school must maintain accounting records for the purpose of this executive order that are sufficient to document both the specific funds transferred and the use of those funds. Such accounting records are subject to auditor review. 5, an execution of this flexibility must not interfere with or jeopardize funding per federal requirements. 6, any transfer must not interfere with the equitable delivery of distance learning or social distancing models. Whereas the school board of Prior Lake Savage Independent School District 719 has determined that the criteria identified under paragraph 21C has been satisfied for a fund transfer pursuant to Emergency Executive Order 20-19. Whereas the school board of Independent School District has reviewed and approved the attached request for fund transfer, there it be resolved, the school board of Independent School District 719 authorizes the school district administration to submit the attached request for fund transfer. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So made.
By Jonathan, is there a second?
Second.
Second, that was Mary? Okay, and then Julie, will you just state for me again the amount? Just so we have it.
I believe it's in your signature folder, exactly what it is.
Okay.
But I believe it's 383,081.
378.
Okay.
378, 381.
Okay, that was close.
Yeah, that's very close. Okay, so in the amount of $378,381. Okay, I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Jonathan?
Aye.
Enrique?
Aye.
Amy? Aye. Julie? Aye. Mary?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, what do we have to do next? Do we have another, I feel like I have another proclamation. Sorry, I lost my,
11E.
what? Oh, okay, sorry. Approval of an issuance of purchase orders for 2021-22. Julie?
This request allows the district to start creating purchase orders ahead of the budget approval by the school board. We do this every year. We request this, and that way our staff can start putting together the purchase orders for next year's expenditures. We always make sure that they are all, say, deliver after and bill us after July 1, so that we are within our requirements for purchasing and procurement. And so, again, this is something that we do every year, and I want to make sure that any new board members understand that this is a routine request.
Could you just, like, what type of things, like?
Usually this is simply for supplies and materials in the school buildings.
Okay,
And sometimes it's for operational, so they can get materials that they need for summer work.
okay. Okay, is there any other questions? All right, so we just need, do I have a motion to approve the issuance of 2021-22 purchase orders as stated?
So made.
By Mary, second?
Second.
Who's that?
Second.
Enrique, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, I know I have a proclamation, here it is. In recognition of School Nurses Day, 2021, I'm gonna read a proclamation. National School Nurse Day, May 12th, 2021. Whereas the students are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And whereas families deserve to feel confident that their children will be cared for when they are at school, and whereas all students have a right to have their physical and mental health needs safely met while in a school setting, and whereas students today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school, and whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has emphasized the essential role school nurses play in student health and academic success, and whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years, and whereas school nurses address the home and community factors that impact students' health, and whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our nation's children, and whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak, and whereas school nurses are members of school-based teams, school health services, 504 IEPs, disaster emergency planning to address the school's population, and whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for children every day. Now therefore be it resolved, Prior Lake Savage Area School District celebrates and acknowledges the accomplishments of school nurses and their efforts of meeting the needs of today's students by improving the delivery of health care in our schools, and offer gratitude for the school nurses who contribute to our local communities by helping students stay healthy in school and ready to learn, and keeping parents and guardians at work, not just on this National School Nurse Day, but at every opportunity throughout the year. We proclaim it National School Nurse Day. So I will just have a couple words. I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything, but I think, I've been in meetings where Kate, our, school nurse, one of our head school nurses, has been a valuable voice, especially through the pandemic. And I know our nurses have been on the front lines of many of the questions being asked by staff and families, and have put in tremendous amount of work these last 15 months. So I just want to thank them for all their efforts in helping us, keep our kids healthy every day, and probably the health of our parents and everybody right along with it, and staff. So a very big thanks to them and all their efforts. So with that, I don't have to do anything besides a vote, right? I'm off on no, that's just a proclamation. Okay. So the next up, Ready to Learn plan, Dr. Stallo.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening, board members. District COVID-19 Coordinator Joe Kabushik and I are happy to share Ready to Learn updates to include information about what we've all been hearing about, some of the loosening of restrictions for the rest of the school year, and really good news as we look to next fall and plan for no COVID-19 restrictions next fall. As I hand this to Joe, I want to thank him again for his leadership, and I want to echo and provide a special thanks regarding the resolution that you just passed. Our school nurses and professionals, health professionals, have been amazing. They have been at the front line. They have been working with staff, with students, with families, delivering not very welcome news often. And they have done a fantastic job for, like you said, Stacy, 15 months. So I want to just echo the resolution and the gratitude that I have for their work. So with that, I will hand it over to Joe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board Chair Ruel, Dr. Salo, board members. As we have talked about throughout the year, we are always constantly looking at our numbers to see where our district is at and our county is at when it comes to COVID-19 cases. What you see here is what is shared weekly and updated each Thursday on our dashboard on our website. And as you can see, we did have a little bit of a peak, as expected, of student cases right in that 7 to 14 days post-spring break timeframe. And since then, we have been trending downward. And that is something that we see as we continue to look at the next slide, which looks at the county numbers. We see those as well. And actually, if you remember, the state data that is released is actually a 2-week delay. And so if we were to forecast this forward based on what is projected to be released this week and where we're at today, our numbers are actually closer to that 40 level. Now, with those positive things happening, and we've talked about vaccinations, and I'll touch on those a little bit more in a little bit, we know that Governor Walz last Thursday released some new guidance, a 3-step process to reduce and finally get rid of the COVID-19 restrictions statewide. And so I want to briefly touch on what those 3 steps are, and then we'll talk about how that affects us at Prior Lake Savage Area Schools. So the first piece that he did was last Friday, May 7th, what he did was the outdoor mask requirement was removed. Now, there is one exception to that, and that is for large outdoor gatherings. So large gatherings of 500 or more people still need to have masks worn. However, you do not need to worry about the social distancing component, and you can have your large outdoor gatherings. As we move forward to May 28th, the remaining capacity and social distancing requirements are removed. So that's both indoor and outdoor at that point will no longer be around. The pieces that still remain there on May 28th is you still must have masks for indoor events and for those large outdoor events of more than 500 people. The last step comes into place no later than July 1st, and that is what Governor Walz laid out as a kind of tentative timeline for vaccinations. We're currently at about 60% of our 16 and older Minnesota residents being vaccinated, and his goal is when we hit 70%, we will go ahead and remove that mask mandate. Now, at our current rate that we're going, we will actually hit that mark about the middle of June. Now, we have been tailing off a little bit with those vaccinations, so hopefully this last little push will get people vaccinated so we can get to that before July 1st. So then the question becomes, what does that mean for us at Prior Lake Savage Area Schools? MDH and MDE have made it clear that the Minnesota Safe Learning Plan that we've been following all year remains in place for the rest of the school year. So that means that many of the things that we've been doing throughout the year will remain in place for our final 4 to 5 weeks with students. Now, there are some minor changes and some things we want to point out. So first of all, the face coverings outdoors. How that affects us is our students at the elementary level have been wearing masks at recess. And so what this does now is all face masks are removed when outside. That was also a significant change for our athletics and activities, where our athletes and now coaches and spectators also outside are able to be mask-free. The one thing that is extremely important that we still need staff and students and families to do is to continue to do that daily self-screening. We need people that are not feeling well to stay at home so that we can make sure that they are feeling well before they return. When we had our meeting last week with Public Health, I asked the question about contact tracing, because I will tell you, when it comes to this process of COVID-19 in our buildings, contact tracing's probably the #1 challenge we are dealing with. When there's a case, we need to go ahead, we need to find out who was sitting near the individual for that time frame of more than 15 minutes within 6 feet. And so the answer was yes, we do need to continue to conduct the contact tracing for the rest of the school year. And so because of that, we're going to continue to make sure that we follow our social distancing to the extent possible so that we can continue to reduce the number of close contacts that each positive case would have. Probably the most exciting piece is with that new guidance, it gives us the opportunities to start looking at our end of the year events. And we all know, and looking at Abby more than anyone, the most exciting one is graduation. And with this new guidance, we are excited to know that we are able to have a traditional graduation in Dan Patch Stadium on Friday, June 11th at 7 o'clock. What that means is we will be able to have families in the stadium to watch their children graduate. Since the event is larger than 500, masks will be required. However, we will not need to follow any social distancing or capacity requirements. So that means that families will be able to invite as many people as they feel comfortable doing, as we have done in the past. The one change that we are making this year is in case of rain, which has never happened, knock on wood, but in case of rain, we don't want to move inside, and so what we're doing is we're actually creating a rain backup date. And so that date is going to be Tuesday, June 15th, once again outside at Dan Patch Stadium. As we continue to look at those end of the year events, there are some events that we're finding we will keep in the virtual format, and each building will be sending out information on those events as we get closer to the end of the year. One of the things that we've talked about is the vaccinations. On that first slide, when you looked at numbers, you saw that our staff numbers have been extremely low and at 0 for more than a month. And that's really due to the fact that our staff, we made a big push early on to get our staff fully vaccinated. Now it's our students' opportunity for that, and we've continued to be able to share opportunities with our 16 and older students. Now, our 12 to 15-year-olds are on deck. Actually, earlier today, the FDA made the first step of approval towards the 12 and 15-year-old vaccinations. The next step will happen on Wednesday when the vaccine committee will make the final approval, and then we'll be ready to move forward and offer those opportunities to families who want to do so. We're actually have been contacted by Scott County Public Health because of our facilities that we have, and we're looking at being able to offer a vaccine clinic at Prairie Lake High School for our residents, as well as our local private schools, charter schools, and residents. As we look to close out the end of the school year, it kind of leads us looking ahead to the summer and looking ahead to next year. So first we'll take the summer. Right now, as I mentioned before, the Safe Learning Plan is set to sunset at the end of the school year. So right now, we're waiting on what guidance of the summer looks like. We've been told by MDH and MDE that that new guidance about summer will be coming in the next few weeks. And of course, we're always looking forward to next school year. At the top, you can see a quote from our Commissioner of Education, Dr. Heather Mueller, and she was quoted saying, "We remain hopeful that we won't need a safe learning plan for the 2021-2022 school year." And so with that, we are planning, right now, we are planning for 5 days a week, full day in-person learning at all of our buildings next year. Now, with that said, we are continuing to look at options, knowing that there may be some families that want to explore some online options. And so we have some committee looking to see what viable possibilities there might be for families that want that. And we'll continue to share those updates as they come ready. Are there any questions? Yes, Mary.
Prom
Yep.
updates.
Prom is staying as is scheduled. So what will be happening is prom is scheduled for Saturday, May 22nd. And what we will be doing is we will be hosting a grand march at Prairie Lake High School. There will not be spectators. It will be live streamed for families to see. Students are signing up right now. And then what students are doing is we sent out a survey to the students to ask them what they wanted to do, because that's prior to the 28th change of opening up more indoor restrictions. And students at that time said, you know what, we want to do our own thing. And so the students are very excited. They've been sharing some of the outside activities that they're planning with their friends.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know if any of the changes here was going to actually help grandfather in. Okay.
Okay, Michael.
Joe, are you as excited as I am to have everybody return back to normal next fall?
100%.
It's just hard to hold that in. The thought of having our students back 5 days a week in person, no masks, just that first day experience, I just can't wait. So thank you for all the work you've been doing.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
We're all excited for fall. And I from a couple conversations this week, I just want you to be able to respond to families who wish we could just be back to 5 days right now. which we are at elementary, right? But the Wednesdays and the earlies and so on. Can you speak a little bit to why that's not possible yet? And what's happening?
Yep, absolutely. So at the secondary level, we still have a number of families that have chosen to have the students at home. And so our teachers in the secondary level are currently working with two modes of education at the same time. So we have teachers that are doing live streaming, asynchronous teaching for the beginning part of the hour, working with the students that are at home and the students that are in front of them. And because of that two modal use, we have to offer the staff additional prep time. And the only way that we can make that work at the secondary level is by having Wednesdays as the opportunity for all of that prep time to be fulfilled. The other thing is Wednesdays also being used as additional time to be able to connect with those students that are working at home.
Thank you.
Okay, Amy.
Thank you. Thanks for the best update yet. Very happy. Hope we don't even need updates soon. But my question is, do you anticipate, or can you speculate, not fair of me, I know, but kind of give us an idea of when possibly, if things are approved on Wednesday for the 12 to 15-year-old group, when you would see Scott County and maybe Prairie Lake High School offering a clinic for that age group?
So I can't give you an exact date. I can tell you I was communicating with Scott County on Friday, talking about the spaces we will use, talking about the setup, the takedown. We will offer both doses at the high school. We'll be using the same space. I really left it up to them, saying we will make any date work to work with you. As soon as you know when you will have the supply of the vaccinations, we will be ready to work with you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is first reading of policies.
Good evening, again. We have our first read of policies. These were I presented at the last meeting in the board packet. We have 501. Would you like me to go through each of these to give an overview again?
Why don't we do that, just a little
Okay.
over, yep.
So for policy 501, we do have some updates. All of these have gone through legal review and review with our building principals as well. For 501 in particular, most of the updates are relative to some formatting. You see some statutory language that are listed in that as well for 501.
Okay, does anybody have questions on that? Okay.
Stacy, the only question that I had was, and this is an assumption, so I assume it's like it is with everyone else, especially after legal review, that the legislature, of course, has a ruling that says that you cannot remove something of a certain value from a student or something like that. And almost all the weapons policies that I've seen have had an exception for that, and I just didn't see it specifically in here, but I'm assuming it is. So if you like remove a very expensive Swiss Army knife from a student because they brought it to school, there's nothing in there where the parent can't come in and say, well, you're not allowed to do that because it's worth more than $100 and therefore.
I don't believe that's anything. I mean, if it's a weapon, it's
That's what I meant. I just wanted to
Correct.
bring that up. I didn't see it referenced here, and I see it referenced in other policies like that. Just say that, okay, just explicitly state that rule or that guideline does not apply to a weapons policy.
no. The value of, under the weapon, regardless of the value, this district would
Right.
treat it as a weapon.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I thought. I just wanted to clarify that and note it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, nothing else, go on to the next one?
For 506.1, minor revisions here. What you do see is ISD 719 reference relative to, or ISD 79 being shifted over to be reflected as the school district. Largely, most of the of this policy is intact. The one thing I will draw to your attention is at the very end, the reporting and response procedure guidelines were called out in our current policy, but they're the new section 7, I believe, in this policy as well. So that additional sheet that's in our current draft would be removed.
Because it's
embedded in the
incorporated.
policy.
Yeah, it's incorporated in
Correct.
the policy.
Just to point that out.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. Next one?
506.2, there are again some minor revisions there, and more things associated with just some additional language relative to statute and ensuring that, again, as this says, working with students with IEPs, ensuring that all of their components associated with their disability, that we're ensuring that there's due process associated with the next steps involved in this policy.
Any questions on that one? Okay. 526.
526, again, some minor revisions, and what looks like a significant change is not. We had the reporting procedures pulled out as a separate document at the very end of the policy. They've been incorporated into section 4 of this document within the policy.
Okay. Any questions on that one? No? Okay, 601.1.
601.1, these were presented to you at the last meeting by Dr. Schuttinger. I believe he went through these. I don't believe there are any
No.
revisions
There's no
for
change.
601.1.
No, just a review, annual or 3-year review. Okay,
604, there are some revisions there with titles and also the addition of some of the, like gifted and talented and specialized programs.
okay, any questions on that one? All right, next.
621.1, I do want to point something out here. At the last board meeting, there was a conversation around the purpose of the revisions to this policy are for incoming 9th graders next year, so current 8th graders. But there's nothing indicated in this policy as it stands that would reflect that. And so Dr. Schuttinger is working on getting that language in this draft policy, and we will have that in the next board packet that reflects, the students that are currently, graduating years and which this policy would be applicable to pending board approval.
Okay, sounds good. All right, is that it?
Yes, I think so.
All right, thank you. And there's
Thank
no second reading of policies. And we are at the final approval of policies, 511, 516, 518, and 530. Want to take them all together, people, or do we want to go one by one?
All together.
All together? All right, would someone like to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve policies, what is it, 511?
Yep.
Through 5 through
Well, 516, 518,
516, 518, and
530.
530.
okay. I have a motion, a second?
Second.
By Enrique. All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next up is Superintendent Report.
Actually, I do not have a formal report. I knew we would go long this evening. I do want to remind everyone, however, that as we, as legislators are moving in the final days of the session, now's the time to continue to reach out and advocate on behalf of our students. And I know that the members of our Public Engagement Legislative Committee will probably speak more about some work we're doing, but just would encourage you to do that. So thank you. Otherwise, I don't have anything else this evening.
Okay, administrative reports? Any administrative reports? No? Okay. Board reports, let's get Abby's last report.
Hello. I think it's working.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so we kind of have a lot going on at the school, hopefully upcoming this month. Well, not hopefully. It is happening. Yay. Finally, we have stuff happening in the school. So, we actually have student council elections on Thursday for the general elections, which is exciting. We'll get a whole new freshman class not freshman class, but also a whole new set of student council members. So that's exciting. And then on Friday, we get to go, this current student council members get to go and talk to the middle schoolers about student council. And so that's also kind of fun to go and see them get excited about it and get them to join student council so that they can plan stuff and do stuff for the school. We, as a council, did some decision day posts for seniors to honor them. You guys might have seen them on Instagram or Facebook or wherever. And that was really successful to honor the seniors in that way. We have a Spirit Week coming up, the week of Prom Week, to kind of try to get people excited about prom. And then Surf and Turf, which will just more so be a movie on the turf, which is the night before prom, so that Friday. We have some makeshift powder puff and powder poof, which is girls, well, it used to be girls football and boys volleyball, and now it's girls kickball because for obvious reasons we can't do girls football and boys volleyball. So those will both be happening, and then we have some events targeted towards seniors specifically, like a senior sunset and a senior women overall decorating event. So we have a lot going on, and we're just trying to do one final push of events so that people can participate in things this last month that we can finally put on in-person events. So very exciting stuff.
Awesome. Okay, any other board reports? Anybody? Michael?
I'll go first.
Oh, Jonathan,
ahead.
sorry.
Just briefly, early childhood, early learning committee met last Monday. And I'll just repeat again, if anyone is listening, that it's been hard this year to do a lot of the community events that brings people in. But the parents on the group are raring to go moving forward. And this is a really great group to participate in. They are looking for new people to come in and to serve on this committee. It's my third year going into it, and it's a terrific group of people, a great way to get involved in the district, especially if you have younger children. Get to know people early. You may be Lakers for a long time, and you can get in on the ground floor. Also, they are very excited about next year moving even more fully into the space of their building now that Loyola Del Lago is not there. And they reported out on some of their forward work on their assessments, their pyramid model, that sort of thing. So it's been exciting. I can let our other engagement committee folks maybe report out on that. And are you going to talk about AMSD?
Go ahead, you can.
I'll just briefly say that we had an overview of the federal COVID relief funds, and you may have seen in Dr. Stallo's newsletter, they provided some really helpful resources and a summary of how to put it all in place, what it was for, and the timelines. And also a study was presented to us about benefits of later school times, later school start times, so.
Okay, Jonathan, did you?
You know, I touched on some of these things already with Community Ed Advisory Committee last weekend, FLRP. A lot of good stuff happening with Community Ed. They're getting back to pretty close to full strength and getting ready for a good summer. Check out your catalogs when you see them in the mailbox. A lot of good stuff coming. And Dr. Stallo and I had an opportunity to visit Westwood and Edgewood on Thursday. Highlight for me was seeing kindergarten classroom and the amazing work that they are doing with the new phonics curriculum, tapping words, something that was just a foreign concept to me, and to see the enthusiasm of the kids to be learning, heartwarming. And also nice to see Edgewood sort of back to being Edgewood and having their space back.
Great. Anybody else? I know we had public. Oh, go ahead, Enrique.
Thank you. I have a few different updates. So Southwest Metro had the opportunity to visit the brand-new facility at the Dean Lakes building. Fantastic space, lots of opportunity for growth as they continue to offer new and exciting programming for adult and basic education, and so many wonderful things that they're doing there. Also with opportunities to lease out some of the unoccupied space. So just some revenue potential there, in addition to a truly fantastic space and things that they're doing there. They will be extending an invitation to all the different member districts to come and tour the facility this fall, so keep an eye out for that. You're going to want to be there because it's really exciting. And kind of segueing from Southwest Metro over to legislative action and policy or public engagement, it's kind of a 2-for-1 at the Southwest Metro Governing Board meeting, as well as in our Legislative Action and Public Engagement Committee. We keep on circling around the theme of activation and just activism with our elected officials. So with each one, typically in prior years, we would have opportunities to go to the Capitol and meet with our elected leaders. This year is kind of an anomaly. I don't remember why, but it was an anomaly as far as why we couldn't go there. So we have to advocate for ourselves at a distance. When we met with our elected officials earlier this spring, they were very receptive, very open to investing in education, not just with their words, not just with direction, but also with financing for those different directives that we have. And what we're seeing come forward from the governor and from the House are fairly consistent. What we're seeing come forward as far as a bill with the Senate is substantially less. So we need to make sure to keep on echoing exactly why we need to move forward with financial support for the mandates that we have, whether it's from the federal government or the state, so that we can keep on delivering the much needed services so that we can help all of our students reach their full potential. And we're not necessarily in a position to be able to do that right now, knowing that we have to take our general operating fund and divide it out for special education, divide it out for technology, divide it out for so many other things, because that's kind of the lifeblood, and we have to be able to provide those services. It's not an option not to do that. So just a shout out to advocate, contact your elected official, and make sure that they hear us loud and clear. Otherwise, it would be a disservice for our students and the families. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'll just, I did AMSD with Dr. Stallo and Michael. And then I will say tomorrow, Dr. Stallo and I are having a lunch meeting with the city of Prior Lake to kind of have our quarterly meeting with them. So we'll have that tomorrow. So I have something to report out on that. What else? Anything else? All right. Future events. May 13th is just around the corner. The district retirement celebration. It's at Prior Lake High School. Is that right? Oh, yeah. New activity center. I'm not used to it there. From 3:30 to 5. We got lots of awesome retirees to celebrate. So if you get a chance to stop on by, right? Yeah, you can go in there and everything. So you can see the new activity center too. So to celebrate our awesome retirees, I encourage you to do that. May 24th, board study session at 6 o'clock at the DSC here. And then May 31st, of course, is Memorial Day. There's no school. One comment I forgot. Board members tonight, it's board survey time. So for our board retreat, we do a survey every year. And so I'll send that out to you guys with some instruction, but just look for your email. Might not be tonight, probably tomorrow. But there'll be some instructions and just it's kind of a quick turnaround. So I just wanted to let you know, it's the annual survey we do every year before our board retreat at the end of June. So And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn. No, thank you. Mary, second? Enrique, thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Have a good evening.